Mesilla Valley News and Gino Aragon here with you as we have a very special guest with us today, and we are talking to Karen Bedonie.
Yes, Karen
I said
Bedonie.
it properly.
You did.
Okay, so we're starting off on a good foot, and Karen is the Libertarian candidate for governor. So you are getting into what is going to be an interesting race, I think, here in 2022. But first, let's get to know you, Karen. Who are you? Where are you from?
All right, well, my name is Karen Bedonie. I'm from the Navajo Nation, northern New Mexico, between Gallup and Farmington, up in the Chusca Mountains. And I am running on the Libertarian ticket to actually, I went to secure or to protect my candidacy. I was a GOP candidate when I started out last year, and I moved across just before we had to declare our candidacies. So when you talk about the state rules of election and how it works, we were going to get locked into your party. And from what I understand and what I've been through and learned and been executed through and pushed through, it's been really rough and it's been abusive. And I decided to make a switch to the parties because over the years I've been told by libertarians that you have a libertarian heart. I hate to tell you, you are for freedom and liberty and the people and the Constitution, and those are libertarian principles. And the individual principle, which is really big on my platform, is the fact that I'm Native American. I can carry my culture, and the party cannot impede that.
Absolutely, and because a lot of people just and I hate to put it on Gary a lot, but Gary Johnson made a lot of people think about what the Libertarian Party was, and some of his platform. I'm not going to go into it too much, but some of that before. But when you take a look at the classic Libertarian candidate, yeah, it is all about the individual and the individual freedoms that we have here in the U.S. And sometimes you feel like maybe we don't have as much as we used to these days, for sure.
In regards to freedom, exactly. Yeah. And so those rights and freedoms are being, taken from us. And so that's why I'm here. I feel like I have an old soul and I understand what was happening between the founding fathers. And when you start reading and researching and you find out what the truth is and how they wanted America to function, it was always about the people and always about our rights and our freedoms to live as we choose, and also to protect what we have earned and keep what we earn. And so that's basically my platform, and I'm carrying a message of hope.
That's a good message to have. And I mean, right now it says in your bio you're a business person. Your family's been in local business where you are for a long time. What is it? Is there any one thing, or what is it right there that really drove you to try and go for this?
Well, it's a multitude of things. I was in the funeral industry up in northern New Mexico. We had 4 businesses, and we lost 3 during this whole episode of MLG. She just ravaged through our economy. The red tape is horrendous, and the gross receipt tax just kind of everything just chokes us to death. So the red tape is there, and it basically hangs us. And when I started to go through this process of trying to become independent and you want prosperity in your life. You don't just work for nothing. You have dreams, and you want the American dream. I wanted it for myself and my children. And as I went down this path, I started to realize that everything that touches us, our food, our education system, our salaries, everything is in the hands of politicians who don't really understand us and don't really listen to us. And we're force-fed policy that they think we need, and they never listen to what we really want.
I've heard a lot of people talk about politics in the sense that there's always a politician that can tell you what they think that you need,
right,
type of thing, or that they know what you need better than you know yourself. And that's why I've always been a very big proponent for local politics. You've got to get into your local politics, and for us, of course, that includes the governor here in New Mexico, because that's, I think, where you have that ability to actually make change for everyone in the state. And there's always been talk before that there's 2 New Mexicos. There's that northern and southern New Mexico right there.
Right.
So what do you have to say to a lot of people here in southern New Mexico?
I'm just like you. When I went to Anthony, New Mexico, everyone told me not to go. There's nothing there, Karen. They're all Democrats. They're not going to listen to you. There's a bunch of, wholesome people, but they're not interested. But I was invited there, and they took me in, and I found a family in that place, and it's beautiful there. And they fed me, and I went into their homes, and I was welcomed with open arms, because you know what? We sat there, and we call it a cheat. It was the intestines for the cow. They were feeding it, and then they're like, "Oh no, she's going to eat it," because they're kind of wondering. And I looked at it, and I looked at my daughter. I'm like, "This is what we eat up north." And so we were sitting there, in the chili and all that. It's the heat we love, and so we're just like you. The rural parts of it, what we fight for, the agriculture, we're also cancer riddled up north. There's a lot of issues that we also share. So I think in the realm of the non-minority, as they would, the people not of a lot of color, there is a division. But when you put us together as just people, cultural people, I have a Spanish background, and then, and they know native blood, and so it goes backwards and forward. And so I'm able to come here and feel at home and build a family. So I love Las Cruces, Doña Ana, everywhere. I just love going here. And it's always come down probably about 10 times a year. I've come through here, and I have a place to go, and we're actually excited because they made the noodle for me, so I get to go and hang out after this, so we can wrap this up pretty fast if you can.
Okay, well, I'll do the best I can, but your radio people like to talk.
Yeah.
I know politicians have a tendency to talk. I mean, I'm just
Actually,
saying.
I'm not like that. When I'm out, I'm real quiet. I like to listen. I want to know what the people are saying. I want to know what they're going through. I like to watch how they operate and how they're customary, how they treat one another. I usually stay and overstay, and a lot of it is just getting comfortable, but I'm very quiet until you give me the mic. Then you'll see what it's all about.
Oh, yeah. And there's a mic in front of you right now, so I'm sure that we'll get into a lot of different things that are happening there. But it's nice to hear that, because I do believe, I mentioned before that I'm from Gallup, New Mexico. My grandparents actually live in Cubero, which is, of course,
right,
east of Grant. Yeah, exactly. And my aunt is still up there. In fact, the Cubero General Store, she owns that. And every year they have a matanza and the whole thing. Yeah.
That's great.
That's me. Don't worry about that one. But the whole family gets together in that whole thing. And when coming down here and you meet a lot of the people that are around here, everybody's the same. I think that divide that I was talking about, the northern and southern New Mexico, I think it comes in more so politically than it does with the people that in all of the areas that we're in, because I think we're all the same as far as that goes. Also a little bit in food, but I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Just a little bit. But it is great to think about that and to understand a candidate that is very much looking to bring the state together, I think. And for some of that, I mean, what are some of the other policies that you're looking at? What is the platform that you're running on, right?
Well, the platform is big because people say, well, the political handbook says you should have 3 points that you're going to cover on your platform. You get a canned speech, your elevator speech. I basically threw that handbook out the window. We have 100 problems. I have a solution for 100 things, 150 things. We're looking at education. We know how to bring that up to par because we are 50th, right? We're the worst education system in the country. Why? Because we have one of the places like the labs that have the greatest minds here. Why are we not tapping into that and keeping our kids here instead of letting them leave? So we have a plan for the education part of it, and it's going to be phenomenal because we get to actually allow them to have their American dream and to chase it. We're not going to, put them into one section and say, you're only going to learn this. And we're going to pump out, a whole bunch of, one area. We're going to let people decide what they want their American dream to be. And I see it. And I think that's very important for us to invest in the youth and their minds and their wants, and then allowing them to blossom. And that's my idea of it. And so we got the education component. All of a sudden, then you got your oil and gas, your resources, your coal, your copper mines, you got your gold and silver, your turquoise, you got your helium up north. We have so many resources in the ground that we could self-sustain for a very long time. I think we have 400 years of coal up in the north and still in the ground. We could light up our own state, and we don't have to export consistently and while we suffer. I think we need to look back inside to self-sustain. What I'm also talking about is the beef industry. I think we should be having New Mexico meat on our tables, and also New Mexico agriculture. It's important that we learn how to feed our own people and also feed our children. I think in our hospitals, even in our school systems, we're not eating very well in there. And so my next trek would be to hit the schools, because I want to know what they're feeding our kids when the school starts. It's all prepackaged. Ever since Michelle came through, Obama, the whole industry, the whole part of the lunch program has been decimated, and you're seeing a climb in the medical part of it. The next part of my platform is medical freedom, because I almost died during COVID. And it wasn't because we didn't have the medication. We know the truth, but I had to fight for it and fight the protocol that they wanted to put me on remdesivir, and I didn't want it. and I fought for my ivermectin, and I got it, and I was back on my feet within 3 days. So we do need medical freedom. We need the right to try, different resources that are out there. We need to be able to bring them in and not be limited. So my platform is an absolute freedom and liberty based on our own resilience and independence. And I see in New Mexico, a very beautiful New Mexico. I am not a politician, I'm a people-tician. And I'm not doing this for a career. I do believe in term limits, and I want to go home after this. I want to fix New Mexico, and I'm going in absolutely clean. I am no politician. I never served in the legislature, so I owe nobody nothing. So I want to go in absolutely clean and brutally with heart, and that's where I'm at. And they do call me up north the beating heart of New Mexico, and on the east side they call me the rhino hunter. So here I am.
Whoa, well, that's a little trial by fire.
Oh, yeah,
and you getting in there. And I will say this: I think your friends were correct, because the way that I hear you speaking, very libertarian, very much the individual freedoms, and to be able to have that in there. So I think you're on the right track there.
Right.
I think you're on the right track. And of course, when you mentioned things like some of the resources that we have and the ability to be able to get to those resources, of course, that means working a lot with our federal government in there. And, I mean, I'm sure you have ideas and plans to go ahead and make sure that we can get that, because let's face it, a lot of the lands that we have here in New Mexico are federally owned.
Right, 35%.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole lot, compared to a lot of the other states out there. So how do you plan on working with the federal government and making sure that New Mexico is recognized, noticed, and basically gets to be where we need to be?
Right. Well, from what I understand, the 30 by 30 was signed into office by Joe Biden when he first got in there, January, I think it was
20th.
2021. Yes, and the 30 by 30 is taking all land and water underneath federal control, 30% more. So you're thinking about it, we're going to be at 64%. And then the 50 by 50 kicked in by Kamala Harris. Before she left Senate, she rammed that one through before she took her seat. So the 50 by 50 by 2050. And then you'll see, well, we're going to be at 100% after you factor in Indian country. So New Mexico is going to be one big reservation if we don't stop this. The federal government needs to understand where their place is within the statehood. It's up to the states to define how they want their state to be run. The 10th Amendment has to be one of the greatest weapons a governor has, and the governor has to be courageous enough and strong enough to use that 10th Amendment to push him back. I see it as a parenting issue, especially with the border wall. I mean, we've had a border crisis since before I was born, and every cycle they talk about it, but nobody does anything. So my thing is we need to parent the federal government, and they need to understand where we stand as New Mexico. We are done being abused and used for our resources and our lands, and we need to start taking those things back, especially forestry. We saw what they did up north. They lit it on fire. It was the Forestry Service that did it. They did a controlled burn in spring at 70-mile winds. Are they crazy? Or what are they doing? But I think it might be part of the 30 by 30 package. If they burn it up, then it's just ash. Then they offer money for it. And that's how they take it. They're going to get the next 30% by private property. So you have to have a governor that's strong enough, especially a Native American, that knows better. We are done giving up more and more of our rights and our liberties, because remember, the Native American population in America barely got their voting rights in 1924. And it's very new to us, but we're already ready to lose it. And I'm not about to let anything go that we've already gained. And so we need to make sure that all of America is saved, because if we lose her, we lose everything.
Well, I can hear the passion that you've got. You've actually got some very strong feelings about that, and that's going to take you far. So I feel that is going to be going that way. So as far as your candidacy goes, I mean, obviously raising money, getting things done like that, how are you accomplishing this?
We haven't asked money right out from people, but until now, we want to make sure we made it into the general election, because they blow money left and right. And they chastise me for traveling too much and then eating out. But then where do you go to meet people? They always say, oh, meet us at this destination. It's usually a restaurant. And you can't just sit there and take up their tables and not patronize them. So you have to buy. And we do feed our team when we're on the road. But raising money is something that we're ready to go now. We had a plan. We do have a plan. It's in effect now. We do have the nomination for the National Libertarian platform.
Oh, that's going to help out.
Yeah, and they do have tons of people who have very wealthy individuals across America, and we're going to reach out to them as well. We're also going to reach out to Indian country, because you have 574 tribes in the United States, and I'm one of the first full-blooded Native Americans to run for governor in the United States. We're also going to tap into all of our conservative resources, and then we're also going to ask the people, the businesses. I am the only candidate that fought for the businesses and small businesses, and most of my campaign contributions went right back to the Mexico economy. I refused to eat at the big box stores if I could help it. If they couldn't see this because the party was too big, then we would move on. But first and foremost has always been buy New Mexico, and that's what I did. So we're here supporting the economy and fundraising. We will finally do the ask. I'll finally start doing it because we made it into the primaries. Now there's 3 of us.
Yeah. Now there's 3 of you there. I believe actually last time there were actually 5 or 6. Maybe
there were 7 of us
7,
in the Republican side, and then I moved over. Tim Walsh moved over, but then Tim Walsh, he ended up not finishing his candidacy for Libertarian. I did, and then now they whittled down to their last guy.
Yeah. So and I was speaking in the general election. I want to say that there's maybe 5 candidates overall in the general.
No, because there's only 3 major parties.
Huh.
So you only get 3 candidates. And then most of the time, the Libertarians didn't have a candidate, so you're only looking at 2. That's why the Democrats, Republicans, I think they're very egotistical. They believe that they're only ones that are important. And they're blaming me for dividing the vote. Well, my thing is, if you were doing your job, you should have embraced me, and I would have been the greatest weapon to the Republican Party. But they didn't. Next, I wasn't in the last cycle. Steve Pierce gave it up to him, and he gave it to her on a silver platter. They should have had it. They should have had it, because her platform was not that strong. But now as we're sitting here talking about parties, it doesn't even matter anymore, because I'm here and I'm talking about the people in general. I don't care what party you are. Keep your party. Don't walk away. Stand your ground. But you know what? In the general election, you can stick your vote where you want. And I'm here. I'm the best option. I'm the only option of hope.
And where can we go ahead and get some more information about you and your campaign? You've got your socials and your website up?
Right. Yes. Our website's it's up. It's called Bedonie Tough. .com. But if you can't remember that, just my name, Karen Bedonie, BEDONIE.com. It'll take you to our campaign page. And I'm also here in Las Cruces this evening. We're having a big Freedom Rally fundraiser, and it's going to be at the VFW Post 3242, 2001 North. I can barely read this. Mesquite Street. That's here in Las Cruces, and that's where I'll be if you want to come say hi and meet me, ask me some tough questions. I love talking with the people. I don't run away, and I don't hide. I'm always allotting enough time for the people to come visit. And then tomorrow evening, we're going to be at a boxing match, I believe. It's going to be Battle of the Badges, and I'm going to go there and watch, because I have one of our wonderful supporters is actually one of the competitors. So I'm excited.
Nice.
So I'm going to be there cheering. So if you come out and say hi and go ahead and support this big event, and that's going to be Battle of the Badges. And I think on Ticketmaster you can get that information.
And that is one of the things that I would encourage everybody to do. If you get the opportunity to talk to the candidates, not just you, Karen, but everybody, ask them the questions. Ask them the questions that you want answered about what they can do or what they're planning to do when they get into office. I don't want to say what they can plan to do for you, because, I do like the individual, and I do like our individual freedoms, but, we've got to think about the state. And I like what you said so far, in the sense that we're talking about education. We're talking about our resources that are in there. We're talking about New Mexico being, where it should be as opposed to where it is now.
Right.
And you're looking at that future right there, which I really like. So I would encourage everybody, when you get the opportunity to meet the candidates, and Karen's going to be out tonight at the VFW Post, tomorrow night at the boxing event at the Battle of the Badge, talk with her. Ask the questions that you want answered. And I can tell you this right now, the smile on your face lets me know you're not afraid of those questions, and you're not afraid to give those answers. And I like that about that. Very much so. I agree with you, friends. That's a very libertarian stance. So, of course, we'll probably see you around a little bit more as you'll be traveling around the state. In fact, where are you headed next out of Las Cruces?
Oh, I get to go home. I was in.
Oh, you're going to go home?
Yeah. And then we're going to have a couple of private events, at my home. And so I'm inviting some of the very big, close family members that I built across New Mexico. So I'm building a family. And then from there, we're going to get ready to hit July hard, August and September, and then take it in November.
Okay. Well, very good. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Of course, Karen Bedonie, she is the gubernatorial candidate running in the general election coming up this November on the Libertarian Party. And once again, thanks for taking a little bit of time to stop by and say hi and introduce yourself here. And like I said, I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot more of Karen as the time goes by and as we get closer and closer to our election thing. Any last things that you want to say to everybody?
No, just God bless everyone. Take care and be kind. Love y'all.